Welcome back to the ROYL Podcast. We have a special episode for you guys this week. Ryan and I sit down to answer the questions that you gave us. So this past week we asked for some questions for a Q&A and you all delivered. So we're going to answer them all, from music to scripture to even what's coming up here on the podcast and in Ride of Your Life Ministries. You don't want to miss a second, so go ahead and buckle up, because here we go. Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's episode of the podcast. We've got a great show for you, and it's honestly one of our favorite ones that we've done without a guest. So you don't want to miss it. We're going to answer your questions that you submitted on social media. We're covering everything from Bible to music to movies, and even giving away a little bit of information on what you can expect from our podcast, both this ending season, I guess, and what you can expect next season. So stay tuned for that. And yeah. And if it sounds a little bit different today with my mic, we're testing out some new technology to where we can take the show on the road. So that's why my mic sounds a little bit different at the beginning of the show compared to the main segment later on. Just a heads up for that. But our Q&A section went a little bit longer than planned, which it was so much fun doing, like I said. So I'm going to go ahead and get a lot of this information stuff out of the way. So like our news each week. So not much is going on big with Ride of Your Life right now. We're just wrapping up our podcast season and casting a vision for 2024 and what God has in store for that. So like I've said before, we are going to keep you on the loop through social media, so stay tuned for there. And our final episode of this season is on Monday, November 27th. So with that, just stay tuned for, again, our special guests that we'll be having in November. And we're going to talk about those in our main segment today. But other than that, I really don't think there's much big news that we haven't talked about already, but I do want to go ahead and get into our word from the Word this week before we have a trip report or tips, tricks, and all that good stuff from Leah, and then we'll head straight into our main segment for this week. For this week's word from the Word, we are going to look at a chapter, actually, and it's just a few verses. 8 verses to be exact. It's from Psalm chapter 121, and it reads, I will lift up mine eyes into the hills, which cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall not neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is my keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in this time forth, and even forevermore. And just, this is a comforting psalm. And the Lord is our keeper. He is He's our help in the time of need. And right now, our country and honestly our world is looking for help. And sadly, many are looking in the wrong place for our help. As we see in Scripture here, and as the psalmist says, we need to turn our eyes towards Jesus. We need to turn our eyes towards God, the maker of heaven and earth, the source of our things in this world will not help us. Coasters will not help us. Drugs, alcohol, sexual things, whatever it may, you fill in the blank, those things are temporary and they fill a void that only Jesus Christ can fill. We need to turn our eyes, we need to turn our hope, our help, our confidence, our guidance to the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth, as we saw here. And God will not allow anything into our lives that He does not want in our lives. And our motivation for this week and our thought we want to drill and put into your mind and heart this week is to look to God, the source of our hope, our help in a time of need. And with a lot of uncertainty and a lot of questions, for lack of better terms, we need to look to God because He is the way, the truth, and the life. He is our help, as we see in this scripture, and it only comes from the Lord. So that was our Monday motivation, and I encourage you to look through those scriptures yourself, and that is, again, Psalm chapter 121, and it's only 8 verses, very short verses. So if you're looking for comfort, help in this troubling time, look to the Word of God, and especially in this text from today. And before we head into our main segment for this week, we're going to go ahead and have another tips and tricks for your next trip to the park from Leah. And then once she's done with that, we'll head straight into our main segment for this week's podcast, which is a Q&A with Ryan and myself. So go ahead and take it away, Leah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another segment of Leah's Tips and Tricks. Now, I've given you guys some pretty basic tips and tricks thus far, but you can never go wrong with basic, and this next one I think you guys are really going to like. So, do you not want to spend a lot of money on meals and even snacks at amusement parks, such as like Cedar Fair, Walt Disney World, Universal? I know, their foods are viral. You see it all the time on social media. But when you finally get to the park and you realize the price of the meal or the snack, you second guess yourself and wonder, should I be spending my money on this? Or should I say, whatever, I'm already spending enough money on this trip? Well, I don't know about you guys, but I love to save as much money as I can when I'm on a trip, but still have fun. And I don't know about you guys, but I like to starve myself healthily, if that makes any sense, on trips. Because I am too busy riding roller coasters and seeing and doing things I probably won't be doing and seeing for a long time. And I want to not waste any time. So there are 2 answers for your problems and questions. The first answer is you do like I do and you starve yourself and you only stay hydrated. Now, is that the most healthiest choice? No. But there is an alternative. If a park lets you bring in a decent sized crossbody, knapsack, or even fanny pack, I stick a few snacks in there, like trail mix, gummies, even a protein bar. That tides me over when I need a little pick-me-up. Or you can also get a meal plan at that certain park. If you have that park's membership pass benefits, you can add on drinks, meal plans, and all of that good stuff. But that's adding more money to your already expensive pass. So that's why I suggest the 2 options I gave you. Hopefully that is helpful and not lame, but I can't wait to see you guys, well, tell you guys next week's segments on Leah's Tips and Tricks. Bye!
Welcome back to this week's main segment of the Ride of Your Life podcast and show, whichever one you're listening to. But This week we're doing something a little bit fun. It's just Ryan and I here in the virtual studio. We're going to do some Q&A. So this past week we put out a question or a post on our social media asking for questions for a new updated Q&A. And thank you to all those who submitted those. We'll be going through a lot of these tonight, but we're just going to have fun with this and just roll with it. So one of the first things is we're going to go ahead and just share our testimonies, kind of get to know us a little bit. And for those who are new to River Life, just get to learn about who we are and where we're coming from. And for those who've been following along for this, you get to hear it again. So, Ryan, go ahead and share your testimony, just a little bit of who you are.
I am Ryan. I run a page called Christian Coasters. I run another page called Ryan Subway Media, if you guys don't know. And I got my start of doing social media and photography and YouTube and all these great things because of all the things God's done in my life. And I grew up with Asperger's when I was young, and I'm going to try and make the long story short. Grew up with Asperger's, and I used to be low functioning and never really believed in God for the longest time until I was 16 years old when a friend shared the gospel with me in high school. And even after a few efforts, it wasn't until he started getting me into Skillet that I started watching Skillet videos, and soon enough the music went beyond the music, and I started hearing more messages about Skillet and their testimonies as well, and just hearing how God worked in their lives. And I think the song One Day Too Late definitely woke me up, and that's off the Awake album, by the way. And that was kind of my moment where I went back to Josh, my friend, and I was like, hey, this Jesus thing, I want to give my life over to the Lord. And ever since then, it's been up and downhill battles, but God has always been consistent. God has always been faithful, and He has been a provider and a leader in my life. And He's just been amazing, especially in this last year. I've probably one of the worst mental health years, and hate to say it, but sinful years of my life. But God is still there, and He's showing me every day that His grace is sufficient. And 16 years old, found roller coasters, and I put the two together because of Jesus and roller coasters.
Cool. And my name is Donnie, and I run a somewhat defunct page called Epic Destinations. Every now and then we post stuff. Our recent video was a National Roller Coaster Day video, but my testimony is I grew up by the grace of God in a Christian household where I was taught the Bible at a young age, and I went to church every time the doors were open, all that stuff. But on October 24th in 2004, at about 7 or 8 years old, I accepted Jesus Christ as my personal Lord and Savior and followed Him in believer's baptism. And through that, 1 year during a summer camp, I surrendered to the call of ministry and whatever God would have me to do. And through that, I've had a few other ministry opportunities where I got to work at some churches and things like that. But it wasn't till 2022, I'm sorry. That's where I knew I needed to step away from a staff position I had at a church. And I just began praying, Lord, what do you want me to do? And through that, the Lord opened up an opportunity for me to, this is a long story short, start River Life Ministries. And through that, I got to meet Ryan and build that friendship. And we started this ministry. And the rest is history. So that's kind of a spark note type version of my story and who I am and what the Lord's done in my life. So, yep. So that's our first question here, just getting to know us a little bit and where we're coming from. We're going to go through some of these questions that you all sent. Thank you all so much for sending these in. We'll try to do as many as we can. And if we can't make through these all tonight, or whenever you're listening to this, we'll maybe do a part 2 eventually. So, the first question here, Ryan, and this is a very controversial question here. It's one
Oh boy.
that is very well debated. Cane's or Chick-fil-A?
I think I'm gonna go with Cane's. I'm sorry. Chick-fil-A kind of lost me when they quit selling their large shakes. It's just pay the same price for a small shake now. You're pretty much paying about $15 for 1/3 of the food you'd get for Cane's at the same price. So, and Cane's is open on Sundays, so I'm a Cane's guy. I like them more. Believe it or not, I don't like either of their sauces. I'm a ketchup guy too, so got to deal with that. And one other tidbit I'll just throw in there. There's this new up-and-coming chain, specifically here in the Midwest. I don't know where else they are. It's called Huey Magoo's. It is another chicken shack type place. And my goodness gracious, 2 weekends ago, I actually tried this for the first time, and it beat them. Bojangles, Zaxby's, Cane's, and Chick-fil-A. It beat them. So if you guys got a Huey Magoo's in your area, you guys need to check it out.
After we're done recording this run, you gotta tell me where this is. This sounds pretty good.
It's really good.
So
it's juicy. Nice and juicy.
That's how chicken needs to be done. Now this one, I like both. I'm going to cheat here. I like both, but if I had to pick one, oh gosh, I don't know. This is not just being the Christian answer of it either, but I'll say Chick-fil-A because there's more options there, and that's probably the closest thing I have. It's rare to find a Cane's around here and there, but I like Cane's. I like their lemonade is legit. I'll say it's better than Chick-fil-A's. Cane's lemonade's better. Cane sauce is the bomb. Better than Chick-fil-A sauce. I know that's blasphemy.
Their sweet tea is better too.
I believe it. So I don't know. I'm leaning towards Chick-fil-A just because there's options. But then again, they're closed on Sunday. They're doing the Lord's work. I don't know. But I'll settle with Chick-fil-A. But there's that one. Next, yet another controversial one. Is Buc-ee's legit or overhyped?
I'd say it's legit. I mean, I've been to a handful of them now, and not only okay, no one likes to wait in the line. It doesn't matter. Like roller coaster, you pumping your gas, you're cashing yourself out, you're going to the bathroom. Like no one wants to wait. Well, good news at Buc-ee's, everyone gets fast lane because they have like 225 pumps a store. It's crazy. And then they have their own diesel, probably has 40-some pumps over there. And that's just gas. You go in there, and to quote some TikToker that Leah watches, Leah's my girlfriend, by the way, it's like Walmart and Cracker Barrel got together and had a baby and created Buc-ee's. And that's legit. If you guys don't know, it's crazy. You go in there, and you go to one end of the store and you think you're in Bass Pro. You go to the other end, you think you're in Walmart. And then, like in the middle, there's like baked goods and there's got tons of meats in there. I think they got pizza, chicken. I mean, they've got a ton of stuff, and the food's relatively cheap. They have great service. Their bathrooms, I think they've got as many toilets as gas pumps. It's crazy. You got like 65 toilets in the bathroom. And, man, Buc-ee's. Oh, by the way, their drinks are like, it's a Texas chain. It started in Texas. You're paying like, I think it's like 99 cents for a cup the size of your head. It's like, what, 44 ounces or something, maybe more?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And if you buy their cup,
that's just scratching the surface. Buc-ee's, it's an experience. Personally, I need to give Buc-ee's another chance because of all the times I went in there, I only got food once. And I didn't hate it, but maybe I should have got something a little bit more elaborate than chicken tenders. I need to go back try their pulled pork because I learned you can get it without barbecue because I'm not a barbecue guy. So at the moment, I think Sheetz is also probably my neck and neck gas station to go to, but I'd say Buc-ee's is legit.
All right. And I agree. It is definitely Walmart and Cracker Barrel having a baby, minus the antiques above your head that could fall at any moment. I love Buc-ee's. It's one of those stops Kinsey and I have to make on our way down to Tennessee. We got to stop at the Sevierville one, and we got to go to the Richmond, Kentucky one. We got to go to both. And if you want to experience heaven on earth, go to Buc-ee's. Get you some beaver nuggets. Go get yourself a chicken wrap. I love their chicken wraps. And you can buy their Tervis mug type thing, whatever it is, the nice Tervis mug. You get to refill up for $1 of your soda. I got one. Praise the Lord. It's been a blessing, help, and encouragement to me.
And
bless that beaver. Bless him.
Let's not forget, Donnie, they are known for their brisket and pulled pork. They actually have their own station separate from all the other food that is dedicated solely to brisket and pulled pork. So those are definitely the first two recommendations I have. The other thing I have to mention too, Donnie, we are getting one in Ohio in less than half a year.
Yes, we are.
And it's up close to where I grew up. So that's pretty stinking cool too. So we're not going to have to go all the way to Kentucky if we have withdrawals. Now we have it in state.
Yep. That's true. It's going to be about an hour from where I live. So road trip. Bless that beaver. Bless him.
Now I want Buc-ee's. Good job, people.
Hey, I'll be down there in a few weeks. So
I'll be down there for Christmas.
I cannot wait. There you go. Man, we could go on forever talking about Buc-ee's. We could be Don Helbick and just talk about Buc-ee's. That dude loves if you have not met a Buc-ee fan until you met Don Helbick. That dude loves Buc-ee's. Eats, breathes, speaks Buc-ee's. He's the man. But moving on, the next one we got here. Have you ever been to an opening day of an attraction?
Yes.
Okay.
So the one that comes to my mind was Mystic Timbers Pass Holder Preview Night 2017. Nice. And when I tell you that is the most people I have ever seen at that park, I mean it. Even pass holders, it was slammed at that park. And if you guys are familiar with the park, you know, obviously it's got like a 2.5 hour line, just the queue itself. Now, imagine that queue being 100% full, spilling out, going all the way along where the train would go, going through the old Tomb Raider crypt, whatever you know it as.
Tomb Raider.
You go through that building, and there's like standing slaughterhouse queues outside, and the line started just to the right of the Beast entrance. I waited, and I got in line at 8:15 p.m. I waited 4 hours and 45 minutes to ride a nice row 3 first Mystic Timbers ride at I want to say it was 12:40 something in the morning. And let me just say this, guys. I don't want to know what time those employees got off work that night because there was seemingly endless people behind me. I don't know if they even slept, and they may have just came in for their next opening day shift. And rest assured, I wouldn't mind doing opening days from here on, but you know, the older I get, I'm just not a big fan of rope dropping most stuff anymore. I'd rather just wait a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, if I got to a media day, I guess that's different. But what about you, Donnie? I'm curious.
This is one that I don't know if it's worthy of bragging about, but I've been to both opening days for the 2 quote-unquote new attractions for Adventure Port. So I was there for Cargo Loco and for Soul Spin. And did it live up to the hype? Not really, but it was neat to go to those two attractions on their opening day.
It was an adventure.
And they were separate too. Da, 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 da. Yes, it was. But yeah, that's really been the only one that I've been to opening day. But I've been to plenty of parks for opening season of their new attraction. Like we just went to Dollywood for their opening season of Big Bear Mountain, which if you're at Dollywood, you gotta ride that. That is so much fun. Even though it's a family coaster, it's a nice, smooth ride through the mountains. And the theming of it is just top notch. So, but the only opening days I've done were Cargo Loco and Soul Spin. So, hopefully, I get to make it out to a coaster opening day, which that just depends on when the park decides to open. Yeah. So, that is our answers for the have you been to an opening day for attraction? Let's see here. Haunt or Winterfest?
I'm almost prone to say no-brainer, but the one con of Winterfest is you only get 2 coasters. So,
yeah.
Okay, let me flip this on you. You didn't specify which park. I'll take Winterfest at Carowinds because they're keeping Ferry 325 year-round, and Ferry 325 and Christmas. I don't like Halloween. I don't like the characters, and I just no. I'm sorry. It's just not for me. I want Christmas music. I want the joyful spirit in the park. I want to see all the Christmas lights. Seems to be the one thing Cedar Fair can do right anymore. And I just, I'll take Winterfest all day.
Yeah. I'll say Winterfest too. That's a given. Haunt. I'm not about the spooky, scary blood, guts, and gore junk. I just like to do the tradition of opening night of Haunt with Ryan. That's always fun. But when it comes to an event that Kings Island can do well, it is Winterfest. Biting my tongue about this year, but we'll see. I'm sure they can pull it off. It's
the real question is, will we have a nativity set?
That's a good question, and I've heard multiple things. Because where the nativity usually is where they're building Camp Snoopy this year. So I've heard, yes, it's going to be relocated. As for where, I don't know. But I've also heard people say no, is officially retired. I hope it's not. Because that is probably one of the best displays, in my opinion, at
and
Winterfest.
Not even a display. Every, I think it's 30 or minutes or an hour or something, they'll have a little show there. And they'll have carolers singing and presenting the story of Jesus. And that was... I was actually floored because that was like Hershen level entertainment right there. And you want to talk about people that got Christmas events down, it's Hershen. So hopefully that comes back. I think we're very like-minded there.
Absolutely. And segueing into our next question there, what is the best theme park event you've been to? Any park.
So, when you say event, my brain's going in 2 ways. So I'm going to give 2 answers. If you're talking about a special coaster enthusiast event, it's hard to choose. I've only been to 2. Believe it or not, I've never been to Coaster Stock. I'm sorry, Don Helbig, if you're listening. Home park, not for me. I've been to Keys to the Kingdom. Both years they had it in 2020 and 2021. Wish they would have brought it back, but they didn't. Oh well. But I would say the best event is probably Hollywood Nights. And I know there's a lot of controversy now after the one lady died that year on the voyage, and that's all I'll say about that. There was the year where they had too many people in 2020, so I'm sorry, in 2021, so they came back and they, did applications. Some people didn't like that, and I would happen to be one of them. They came back the next year and they did first come, first serve. And of course, everyone's always going to have a problem when they don't get a ticket, but that's the most fair way they can do it. Overall, all that to be said, if you do get a ticket to the event, regardless to how or why, it is probably the most fun event you can go to, because what the event offers is something that no other event can objectively offer, and that's a trimless ride on Voyage. If you don't know, Voyage is a huge wooden roller coaster in Holiday World, and it interacts with the terrain, and it's mostly downhill, so even the slow ride turns out to be a fast ride in the second half. You take that trim out in the mid-course, you might not notice it too much when you're going through it, but that second half whips. And it is one of the most intense experiences. It's breathtaking. It's worth the trip if you can get to Hollywood Nights. And that's just overlooking all the other great things. The staff there is phenomenal. They take you on a walk-back tour every year, which this year they took us even further back in the Voyage than I've ever seen before. And they don't rush you either. Like, if you're a photographer and you like getting content like me, they let you take your time. They make you make sure that you can get every shot, which I cannot say the same for Cedar Fair because they do rush you there. So, yeah, I mean, obviously the other coasters are good. The water park is great. This year it was a 2 full day event. Hollywood Nights. And the other event, I'm going to have to say, and I'll keep this a lot more concise, it's got to be the Herschend Dollywood Christmas in the Smokies. Is that what it's called? Or Smoky Mountain Christmas, whatever they call it down there.
Yep, Smoky Mountain Christmas.
I have been told that the one at Silver Dollar City is better. I don't know. I haven't been there, but I will say that the Dollywood one is by far the best. I'm excited to go back for year 2 of that this year. The train ride is a must-do. The music, the lights, the coasters, and just being on the mountains in Tennessee, and even having the gospel sprinkled in with Dolly Parton, it is just well executed. Donnie, I will pass the baton.
All right, grabbing that baton. I have 2. The first one is a once-in-a-lifetime event that took place last year, and that was Kings Island's 50th anniversary. I will say the park did an outstanding job with the 50th anniversary. They brought back so many homages and so many nods to the past in the most legal way they could without saying Paramount or anything along those lines. They paid homage to everything you could think of, from the food to the shows to the fireworks show last year was like probably one of the best I've ever seen, and I've seen Disney fireworks, and that was phenomenal. It just is an awesome year. You cannot top that for an anniversary. But my second favorite one is Dollywood's Spring Festival. I went there. That was the first time I've been to Dollywood in a long time. This was Kenzie's first time there. And the park is beautiful as is. But on top of that, they put out some beautiful topiaries, put out even more flowers. Just the environment and everything there was just chef's kiss. It was beautiful. I'd highly recommend it. And the food was even better at Dollywood. Their food is like probably the best food at a theme park you could get out there, but this was just a step above that for the fall. Or not the fall, but the spring. So those 2 are tied, but I'd like to do some more eventually.
So I think the big picture here is that Dollywood may very well be the best non-Universal or Disney park. I mean, they just... Yeah. It doesn't matter. That's something I really admire about Herschend is they're always doing something different all 4 seasons of the year. Yeah. It's not like they're just, we have Christmas and Christmas time, and we might have a one-off event in the summer, but it's all the same otherwise. They do a lot of neat stuff. And I'm assuming Silver Dollar City's the same way. But needless to say, we both love Dollywood a lot.
And I think that kind of answers our next question, Ryan. What is your all-time favorite park?
Oh, whoops! There you go.
Let's do a top 5. Let's do a top 5 to make it easy. Well,
It's
easier.
so hard to pick between the two because I like Dollywood for just being Dollywood, and I love Cedar Point for their coasters. Yeah. But I mean, Cedar Point, Dollywood, 1, 2, 2, 1, however that works. I would have put Kings Island at 3 for a long time, but they have just slacked off so bad these last few years, and it's just not the same anymore. Honestly, this is going to shock a lot of people, but I had a fantastic time when I visited Six Flags St. Louis. Now, do they have the best coaster lineup in the world? No. But the park is well ran. At least it was in 2021 when I went. The staff was amazing. Very nice. And you could ride Mr. Freeze all day. And you could strap me to that for a day and it wouldn't get old. I love that park. Number 4, probably going to have to go with Six Flags Fiesta Texas. Yes, I know some people are going to be like, how did you put that under St. Louis? Fiesta Texas, again, pretty much the same well-ran park. Actually had a really good experience there this spring. Goodness, Ryan. And then at 5, I know this might shock people too. I'm basing this off a 2015 experience, so bear with me. I haven't been in 8 years. Busch Gardens, Tampa. I mean, the park is beautiful. It's like breathtaking when you enter. The scenery, the coasters, the animals all coming together, and it's got really good food. Yeah, that's probably my top 5. I know that might shock people, but honorable mention to King's Dominion too.
Cool. My number 1, hands down, Dollywood. You can't beat it. And I think the only way that could beat that park is if I went to Silver Dollar City, from what I hear. I've heard Silver Dollar City's a little bit better than Dollywood. But right now it's Dollywood, and I think my list will change in 2025 when Epic Universe opens. I don't know. But number 2 is Universal Studios Orlando. 3 is Islands of Adventure. I love those parks. Number 4, Holiday World. I love Holiday World. I had a really good experience there. There's not a lot of rides and stuff to do there coaster-wise, but just the people were friendly. The food was really good. I was very impressed with the food. I love the theming. It's Christmas all year long. It's Halloween, Thanksgiving all year long. I love that. Voyage, I get it. I get why it's the world's best coaster, even though I like Legend a little bit more. Thunderbird's stinking awesome. Gobbler Getaway is probably one of the best dark rides I've ridden. The guns actually work, or as they call them, the turkey gobblers, which that was awesome.
Like Raven and the water park too. I know you didn't spend time in the water park, but just throw it out there. They have one of the best water parks out there, so I'll just leave it there.
I do want to go back to Splash and Safari. Kenzie and I were talking about, it's like, we hear this is probably one of the best water parks in the world, and we want to come back and experience it.
Oh my goodness, I love it.
Yeah, number 4 right now would have to be... I'm trying to think of everywhere I've been.
We're going to have to put the dial-up sound effects in right now. Oh, he's like loading up these dots.
I will have to say... I should have wrote this down. Okay, I'll just say it. Epcot. Epcot's up there for me. Yeah, it's not the most thrilling park out there, but it's just neat theming. Actually, I take that back. Hershey's up there.
Dude, I don't know why I didn't think of Hershey. Hershey's so good. 5.
Epcot's up there, but Hershey I think is a little bit better. And yeah, it wasn't probably one of the most thrilling parks I've been to a few years ago, but I've heard it's improved, and we are planning on going back next year. So I can't wait to do Candemonium. Can't wait to do all the new additions they've done recently, and I can't wait for Wildcat's Revenge. So, yeah. So that's my top 5. So Dollywood, Studios, Islands, Holiday World, and Hershey.
Sweet.
So, and this is not all of these are tying together. Do you have any parks you plan on visiting this year or next year?
I mean, I can answer this year for sure. We're going to, around Christmas time, we're going down to Dollywood again, and we're staying in a cabin for 4 days. And I think 1 or 2 of those days, Lee and I are going to have on our own since we're driving separately. And I think we're going to be able to, one of those days, do, like, I don't know about every, but we're going to try and knock out as many mountain coasters in a day as we can. That's about all I got for this year, other than Kings Island. You know, obviously, I'm going to be at Winterfest a handful of times. Next year, I don't have a tentative time, but I do plan on doing a big Pennsylvania park trip. I know I've been to a lot of those parks. I'm missing coasters at, I think Hershey's the only one over there. I actually got every coaster, the biggest one, go figure, but missing half the credits at Kennywood, plus Lee has never been there. I'm missing a few at Donnie. I'm missing I can't think. But yeah, Pennsylvania parks. Oh, Knoebels stuff. I spent, if you guys aren't familiar with my YouTube channel, I went to Hershey and Knoebels last year. Hershey had a good day because I got the fast track. And I splurged, and it was a wonderful decision. Got everything done that I needed to. It was also Wildcat's final day. Next day, I decided to force a trip to Knoebels, knowing good and well I'd only have 4 hours, then I'd have to come home and go to work the next day. I barely got the 4 major credits in that I wanted, but I'd like to spend more time there. So rest assured, Pennsylvania Park's probably going to happen next year.
Cool. And I think next year is the year of Pennsylvania because we're going to be heading out to Pennsylvania next year too. I think it's in the... I think it's in the fall of next year when we're going. So we're going to be doing Hershey, Dorney, maybe Kennywood. That's a big question mark for now. But we're also checking out the Sight and Sound Theater there to see their production of Daniel, the Book of Daniel they're doing a show about. So that's going to be one of our things. And then we got the passport for next year. So it's technically the Platinum Pass for Cedar Fair. So we're going to be heading up Cedar Point next year. And for the first time ever, we're going to Carowinds. So I'm excited to experience that for the first time. Yeah, so I think that's all the parks we are doing next year. And this year, really, the only park we're going to is Kings Island.
There's always like this big week trip for me where I'm like, all right, yeah, PTO, we're going to make this happen. And then there's those other trips, because for those of you that don't know, I work 4 days a week, so I have 3-day weekends. So I'm able to do weekend trips if it's in the budget. And a few parks that are coming to mind is Silver Dollar City, Six Flags Great America, Waldemere, which is up in Erie, Pennsylvania, small park, but would love to get those gravity groups. And I know this is a shot in the dark, but maybe Michigan's Adventure. So there's a handful of weekend parks I could probably pull off too, but odds are that's going to be slim.
Yeah. Cool. And one park I would love to revisit next year, but it's not in our plans right now, is to go back to Holiday World and get some good gravy. Some gee willikers, good
my
gravy.
Goodness.
I'd love to go back and visit that park again. We loved it so much, and we'd love to even do maybe a quick little trip to Kentucky Kingdom. Wink, wink, everybody.
Wish that park just gets better every time I visit.
Yeah. So, who knows? We might make a meetup out of it. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
But, stroking my beard right now. Anyways, on to the next question. Right. Away from park stuff right now. Winter Jam's getting ready to announce its 2024 lineup. Who are your predictions? Ryan, I know we've talked about this in a podcast, but who would you like to see? Who do you predict being at least the headliner?
Ugh. So many people just called it quits within the time we put in our last predictions. So I have no clue if this is going to happen. I hate to say it, but I could totally see them bringing Crowder back as the headliner. Toby Mac's tour is basically Winter Jam 2.0 at this point. The Hits Deep tour is it's blowing up.
It is.
Jeremy Camp was already on tour. They're not going to make him a headliner, sadly. I could see it. I'm just going to throw some names out there. I'm not even going to justify it. I think it's going to be in no particular order. Crowder, KB, please, dear Lord, Kane, Katie Nicole. That would be great. Obviously, New Song's going to be there. It's their tour. We love New Song.
Oh, yeah. The reason I go.
Who else? Oh, duh. For the rock band, this might be a shot in the dark. I want to say Red, but part of me wants to say 1,000 Foot Crutch because 1,000 Foot Crutch is hinting at getting back together, and they have been known to do lots of Winter Jams. In fact, Winter Jam 17 was the last tour they ever did. So if they actually do come back, I could see that happening. They tend to bear a little bit more fruit than Red has recently. But yeah, there's a few of my predictions. I'm probably going to be wrong, and I could care less because that's a whole other can of worms. Christian music scene is kind of dying right now.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I can see Kane headlining. I really do. They've gone on a few tours now, and I can see them bringing Katie Nicole with them on this Winter Jam tour.
Which, by the way, if that happened, I'm already sold.
Yeah, for sure. I could see Brandon Lake possibly being there.
I didn't
or
think
at least
about
Red
that.
Walker.
I didn't think about Brandon Lake.
Brandon Lake would be an awesome headliner.
He would. I like Brandon Lake.
Who else would be there? I'm kind of cheating here. I think maybe we might see a Ben Fuller or Social Club.
Oh, Social. I think
Maybe
they did do it one year.
Social Club could. They've done a few.
I forgot about Social Club.
It's like we almost need to go back to our episode where we went through every single year of Winter Jam.
That is. I don't know what we were thinking. That was just way too much.
We were desperate for content, people. We were starting this thing. This was like episode 2 or 3.
Yeah, let's go through every single Winter Jam and give our hot takes on the lineups. And then, if that wasn't enough for you, we took 45 minutes at the end of the episode just to decide who we thought would be there next year.
Oh man, I think that was a whole episode itself.
Winter
speculation, but it's a good time. It's a good time when you get good artists.
That's why I get scared when we even mention Christian music on this podcast, because it may never end.
It's like, no. So moving on. Favorite YouTube channel?
So I have a lot, because I ingest more YouTube than anything. Not all these people are Christian, but they're all really talented. There's a guy I watch from Australia. His name is Mike. His channel's name is North Borders. He shoots on a Sony A7R4. He is a night photographer specifically, and he shoots a lot of cars. And just watching him do this sounds weird, but photography POVs, it's really cool to watch him go around town in all these well-toured places all across the map. And he's a big talent, and he seems like a cool dude, so he's one of them. Extreme Thrills, love Extreme Thrills, who we might just...
I'd love to have them on the...
I know, right?
I'd love to have them on the podcast, dude.
I know.
Wink, wink.
I got nothing about that. Airtime Thrills, yeah. I gotta shout out my boy Matt. Coasters with Matt. There's been a lot of vloggers in the coaster community who've been over editing their videos and putting out a lot of very repetitive, like commercial like content. Matt is very like minded with me. He's a Christian as well. He's from California. He does everything from his iPhone, but he pulls it off so well. And he does very minimalistic park vlogs that are a lot of fun to watch. And y'all need to check out Coasters with Matt if you haven't already. He's doing a much better job than me.
Awesome. For me, Kenzie and I both love our vloggers too. We like Super Enthused Jackie. She does an awesome job. Kevin Heimbuck. Extreme Thrills. Man, I wish we could get them on here.
No, man.
Wink, wink.
It's like, foreshadowing.
Okay. I don't know what that was, but the other favorite YouTubers, Adventure is out there. Yeah, those are three of my favorite YouTubers, or four. Yeah.
And then obviously I'm my own favorite YouTuber.
Yeah.
A little biased.
Yeah, Christian Coaster's all
a little
right.
biased. Honestly, I got some work to do, but
it's good stuff, dude.
when I put it out, it's like, yeah, I'll post on Instagram. Just went to, I'm just going to pull one out of my rear end here. Yeah, we just got done wrapping up an epic weekend at Spirit Song, and, that was in the middle of June. As of this recording, it's October 10th, and I'm still editing Toby Mac and Katie Nicole photos. I am still... I got that vlog out a little while ago, but I'm still catching up on vlogs for the summer, so... It's, I'll figure it out eventually.
Cool. All right. Here's one about the podcast. Someone asked, what's new and upcoming for the podcast?
Oh, it's like we just
tag team here.
It's like we just did some weird, like, telepathic foreshadowing. I don't know.
Well, we could tell you there's going to be interviews.
Yeah.
There's going to be interviews. There's this Q&A.
There might be a cool person from the Christian rock scene on from a small band that I absolutely love. So I'd love to promote them too. So that is happening.
Do we want to say who these guests are? Or do we want to keep the suspense, Ryan?
I don't know, man. It's like they asked for it, so you'd think we have to give them an answer. We can't just leave them on.
All right, so go ahead and tell us who this rock star is. Literally.
Okay, so don't think like I got John Cooper on from Skillet. Not that cool.
No.
And I love Kevin Young, but I have not reached out to Disciple yet. However, there's a new band I caught on tour with The Protest earlier this year called Behold the Beloved. And I went to go do photos for The Protest 2 weeks in a row, and they were on each show. And I tell you what, for a small band, I don't know how big they'll ever get, but I loved their spirit, their enthusiasm for the gospel. Their music was really good live. I mean, actually, I would say, like, shockingly good live. And getting to hang backstage with them the second weekend, they don't just put on the show. Like, they're legit Christians. And fun fact, Donnie mentioned this a little bit earlier. There was a theater called Sight and Sounds that he may or may not have been involved in before he joined Behold the Beloved. So we'd love to talk more about all these things, including his testimony on his episode. But that's a big interview, but I don't know. Who else do we got? I know the big kicker.
The season finale.
Okay, so it's the season finale.
So the season finale.
Yeah.
Do we want to say who it is yet?
I think we can let him know. I think that Q&A.
Let's tell him.
So all that shenanigans about foreshadowing, we got my good friends Derek and Kara Abbey from Extreme Thrills on, and I thought they fit the perfect mold. Jesus and roller coasters. A lot of you guys might not know that they were Christians, but they are, and they're wonderful people. They're tremendously talented. Between her being a photographer and him being I would argue, a cinematographer. He's too good for videography. I call him a cinematographer.
Yeah,
they're incredible. I love them. I can't say enough about them. But yeah, that's who we're gonna have on, and we've got a lot. We've got a list of names in a hat next year that we're gonna reach out to and set in stones.
we got some really good ones.
We'll save that for later though, because that's the next season.
Yeah. We can't tell too much of what's happening.
But yeah,
that may be. Yeah. So those are two big season closers.
That's the first time I've been doing social media now for 6 years, and that's the first time I've ever been asked about future plans. So, kind of gets you in that cool spirit a little bit.
Yeah. So we thought we would give you all a little teaser of what's to come, and we've recorded the season finale with Extreme Thrills already, and we cannot wait for you guys to hear this. This is probably one of my favorite interviews we've done. It's got a good balance to it. It's we go over the whole 9 yards, coasters, parks. I mean, I won't lie. If you guys are photographers or in the cameras, you may really like this episode, because there's probably a good 10 to 15 minutes of this episode that's dedicated to just that. Just talking about gear and the process and how they operate. We covered faith, the whole 9 yards. It's exactly what I hoped for and more. Yeah, and then we haven't recorded Sean's yet. No, we haven't. That's actually coming up in a few weeks. So, So we want to go out with a bang this season. And some of the guests we've been talking about for next season, literally every time we finish an interview with a guest, we're like, man, that was probably the best episode. It's like every time it keeps getting better and better. And I think next season it's going to be even better and better. And what are some of your highlights of this season? We're coming to a close with season 2, which I think this season has been phenomenal as is. But what's been some of your favorite highlights from this season? Oh, for sure the one we just did last week. That was really good. Having Zach on was cool to hear him talk about the whole process with, doing the haunted houses and theming it to parables of the gospel. It's like absurd, but hey, it's ministry. If you're putting in the effort, it's ministry. And that I really liked Kate Stanford's episode too. That was she is such a sweet girl, and like her enthusiasm before we recorded, during the recording, after the recording, and even like off like call, like she still stayed connected with us, got us hooked up with a lot of really cool people. Some guests maybe next season. And look at us. We're Christian music nuts, and we got a Christian music artist that's up and coming on here. I mean, that was pretty cool. And I can only assume Justin was good. I can only assume that the one with Sean is going to be great too. I know we haven't recorded it yet, but I know it's going to be great. So those are my highlights. Honestly, I have something awesome to say about each guest. Justin was a lot of fun. He was our first real guest on the podcast, and the book Chasing Roller Coasters, I cannot recommend it enough. Not just because he was on the podcast, but that book is awesome. It's a devotional, and it's been encouragement and help to me. Mike Basco, that was a fun one I got to do with him. Talk about his heart for ministry, being American Ninja Warrior and all that. That was fun. Kate Stanford, like Ryan said, she was a ball of energy. She is so much fun, and just connecting with her afterwards. Zach Galeros, this is one I've been following along for a while, and to have him actually come on was awesome. Larry and Gene, they were so much fun. Our coaster. How did I forget Gene and Larry? Good lord. Come on, Ryan. Yeah, they were great. That was another one of my favorites. the interview.
That's poetic justice right there. That if we have to think about it and forget some of the best moments, that's how good of a season 2 we had. What a bounce back from season 1.
Goodness, y'all. We hate to say we want to forget season 1, but if it wasn't for season 1, we wouldn't be here today doing what we're doing. But praise the Lord for the progress and vision He's given for us for this. But I can't go without saying how fun it was interviewing Undaunted Pursuit and just building that friendship with Aaron and Marshall. Those guys, man, I think through being on their podcast and then being on ours, we built some friendships there, I think, that we'll see the Lord do some great things with both of our ministries. And being both on Fruitful Radio is just the cherry on top. And we definitely want to get those guys back on and maybe do a game or two with them. We've thought up some ideas of content we could do with them, seeing who knows their co-host best. So, man, it's been good. The Lord's been good this season. Next question. We're going to speed this up a little bit here. And let's see here. If you could travel back in time, what decade would you visit and why?
The 1980s. Duh. I mean, did Kiss just come out? No. But Kiss was still pretty popular. And the hair bands, like, I know they might not be the most Christian, but the music back then, like rock music in general, was cool back then. And long hair, and, you know, you didn't have everyone stuck up their phones back then. You could actually have fun and focus on life. And, I mean, yeah, the 80s. I mean, just watch Back to the Future 2 and tell me you don't want to go back to the 80s. That has got to be one of the coolest. I mean, Back to the Future, both movies. Let's just group them together. The 80s movies, there's just something about the 80s I really liked.
Yes.
So I would say the 80s, but as crazy as our current times are, I love a lot of the cool technology we've been blessed with, like iPhones and the cameras. And I mean, I don't know who I'd be if I didn't know the iPhones and the cameras and able to make the videos that I've been able to. I mean, obviously Jesus, but it's a huge part of my identity. I'm known as the camera guy, so yeah. Cool.
For me, I'm tied between two. I'd love to go back to the 50s. I just like the retro, the vibe of the 50s, and but I do love the 80s like Ryan. I'm a huge movie junkie. I want to go back. I love those movies. So seeing them premiere would have been so awesome. See Back to the Future, see Jaws, see E.T. was the 90s. But seeing all these classic movies, having that retro nostalgia, man, can't beat it.
I love how
I say 50s and 80s.
I love how you conveniently picked both decades out of Back to the Future.
Yeah. Great Scott. It's like I definitely don't want to go back to 2020 or 2015.
Oh, what
the other date from?
What do you mean? I want to find that almanac. Dude, that almanac is the key. You'd be a gambling expert.
Great Scott.
It's a great movie. It's a Back to the Future 2 reference if you don't know.
Yes. Back to the Future is my all-time favorite movie. I love it, particularly Back to the Future 2. And it's just funny to see what they thought 2015 was going to be like. It's funny to see that.
Flying cars, yeah, not quite.
The closest thing we have to a hoverboard is a little thing that rolls on the ground.
What is funny, though, is in the movie, they predicted that the Cubs would win the World Series, and they made it and lost that first year, but they came back the next year and won. Had they won that first year, Back to the Future 2 would have predicted it.
Would have predicted. What else did they predict? Well, they did predict a Pepsi logo change. I don't know if that was inspired by the movie or anything, but that's one of the things they had. And then they went back to the Wild West in Part 3, which
I honestly
give or take that movie,
have not even seen the third one.
You're not missing much. But Back to the Future 2 is one of my all-time favorite movies. But that kind of answers our question there. What's your all-time favorite movie? Back to the Future is mine.
Oh, okay. Favorite movie. I know this is controversial, but I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, and I haven't read the books. I've only seen the movies once each time, but they're just that good and instilled in my mind. I mean, they're all great. All the Harry Potter movies are great, but if we're going to talk about a cinematic masterpiece, it is the 8th movie, The Deathly Hallows Part 2. I just, wow. I mean, it's breathtaking. The music, the effects, the story, how it all unfolds. It's just amazing. I mean, I was a Star Wars fan for years. I was a Marvel fan for years. If I had a close backup, I would say The Dark Knight, even though it is a grim movie, it is great. So probably The Dark Knight or that.
I will say, growing up, I was never, well, for the most part of my life, I was not allowed to watch Harry Potter just because
Magic
my
and
upbringing and all
sorcery
that,
and
but-
wizards.
Yeah. But as I got older, going to Universal and seeing everything in person, walking through that gave me a better appreciation for the movie. Sure, obviously none of the wizardry is real, but just the cinematic goodness of those movies is just phenomenal. And it's honestly paved the way for a lot of the movie effects and stuff like that we have now. If it wasn't for
I promise
Harry
I'm not going to go down a Harry Potter rabbit trail, but if you watch all 8 films, and if you're like me, you go in with an open mind and you... Actually, I went in with a closed mind. That's how good it was. I used to be a hater. I never had seen the movies. I thought it looked stupid, nerdy, and former roommates got me into it, and that's how I got into that. But, you know, they're kids, and they all grow up throughout the films. But in the first movie, they're kids. And, you know, they all start going to Hogwarts. And it's interesting because, from what I've been told, the first 3 movies cover the books the best. And then the following movies, they kind of add some fan service. I don't know. I didn't read the books. I'm not a big reader. If I even read one of the Harry Potter books, it'd probably take me 10 years to accomplish it. With that all said, though, throughout the franchise, you can kind of see where the movie... I mean, they're all cinematic masterpieces. But it just gets that much more cinematic style the further into the franchise you go. And by the time you get to the Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2, again, I'll reiterate, cinematically, it very well may be the best movie I've ever seen.
Yeah. It's awesome. That whole franchise was just a trailblazer for the movies that we have today.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, it set the bar high.
I mean, look at... It's funny because I watched Marvel before with the whole Infinity Stones thing, and when you're looking for the whole cruxes and Harry Potter, it's like, who stole whose? It's the same concept.
Yep.
Someone's always looking for something. And multiple of something. Go figure. But I digress.
Yeah.
It's another good...
the next question here.
I was just going to say, it's another good topic.
Yeah. For sure. We'll get into that in another episode. Maybe next season, I don't know. But this one was asked quite a bit by people. What is your favorite verse currently?
I mean, it's got to be for me Romans 8:10-11. But if Christ is in you, though the body is dead because of sin, the spirit is alive because of righteousness. So, I mean, I'm a walking testimony to that. I mean, I've, over the last 6 years, actually 7 years now, crazy, 7 years of following Jesus, I have made tons and tons and tons of boneheaded decisions. I mean, there's times where I didn't know right from wrong and I did wrong. There's times I did know right from wrong and I did wrong. And throughout the process, God, in times of healing and trying to find answers. He's just used me through all of it, and I continue to be a walking testimony that God still uses broken, sinful people. And I just pray continuously that throughout my struggles in life that God will continue to do the same thing. For example, using Right of Your Life Ministries or Christian Coasters or avenues in my life where I can make an impact and a difference.
Absolutely. And my favorite verse, it's been this for a while just because it's been so true in my life, has been Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, lean not to thy understanding, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Trust in God when things are uncertain and when you're still looking for that light at the end of the tunnel in situations. Just trusting him. It's easier said than done, but it is so true that he will direct your paths if you put your full faith and trust in him. Obviously, you have to put your faith and trust in him with salvation, but in everyday life, in every situation he puts you in, from the mountaintops to the valleys, you just need to put your full faith and trust in knowing that he's going to do what only he can do in his perfect time and will. So that's my favorite verse, and just I've seen it played out in my own life. So Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 are my two life verses currently. We'll do a few more here. And we will wrap up this episode from here. But what's your favorite coaster of all time?
Voyage.
So
Voyage.
far? Voyage?
Easily.
Nice.
Hollywood Nights, trimless. Even not trimless if it's warmed up.
Mhm.
It's just like, it combines that feel of an old classic Woody with an off-the-rails, I say in air quotes, death machine. I love being ragdolled around, getting that crazy, not straight airtime, like it's lateral airtime. It tosses you to the side and up. It's pretty crazy experience. Right in the front row, and you might just have the best coaster on earth.
I will agree. And it's a really good wooden roller coaster, but in my opinion, my favorite coaster right now is Thunderhead at Dollywood. Ever since they did that retrack, I've loved that thing. The seats are comfortable. It's a nice ride with some really good airtime, depending on where you sit on there. That's one of my favorite coasters at one of my favorite parks, at my favorite park. So I'll say Thunderhead with a close second of Big Bear Mountain, which may shock a lot of people, but that ride is perfect for what it is. It's super smooth, thematically beautiful. Those two, I think, are one of my top ones. But this kind of goes in with our next one here, bringing in our final questions here. This is a back-to-back question. Do you prefer wood or steel coasters? And do you prefer coasters that go upside down or ones that don't?
For me, none of those two things are really something I have a preference for. I'm just looking at how well the coaster is executed. So, like, Voyage is my number one. And I quit ranking coasters to an extreme, but one of my other favorite coasters is Maverick. I love Maverick. Those two coasters are entirely different. Like, they're like the two most polar opposite coasters you could find. I think, yeah, my number 3 is Steel Vengeance. My number 4, I think, I don't know, I'd probably, off the top of my head, Fury 325. 5, probably Intimidator 305. I'm sorry, Intimidator 3, Flip Flop, and whatever. As you can see, it's impossible to remember them all at once, but I'm just looking at how well they're executed. Theming helps, but, you know, when I look at a coaster, I look at a coaster. I want to see how well it runs. That's it. Airtime, inversions, intensity, all those things come together. And, yeah, I guess that's the enthusiast in me with an open mind and zero bias.
I agree with you there. It all depends on the experience and how it's executed. Uh, like I said, I'm not. If I'm honest, I'm not too big of a wooden coaster fan, but heck, Thunderhead's my number one coaster. And then I love Mystic Timbers, and I do also Legend too, but I do love my steels. I love Orion, even though that one's controversial as what kind of coaster it is. I love Thunderhead. It just depends on what your experience is and all that. And then as far as going up looping or no loops, again, it just depends on the experience and what the coaster is. But to wrap up our Q&A for this episode, and thank you all again for so much for submitting these. But the final question here is one that I just want to drive this home with is, how has God been good in your life lately? How has God been good to you lately?
His forgiveness is just, the older I get, the more I see it. I mean, I don't know how much more plain and simple I could say it. I feel like I've developed more problems this year than I have in my entire life, and God has just still been able to work through it. And even when I felt like giving up, He used people in my life to push me to not give up. And just between that and being the God of miracles, He's done so many miracles in my life, specifically this year, with provision and just, yeah, it's just been a great year. I mean, I know I haven't posted as much this year, uploaded as much this year, but trust me, off camera, it has been a pretty good year.
Praise the Lord. And it's one of the things that sticks out to me on how God's been good in my life is just providing the little things when you least expect it. And this is just funny because this happened just the other day. So, and I do have a little side job that I do for a Christian school. I do their website and social media content here and there. And they usually pay me with gift cards and things like that, just as a thank you for doing what I'm doing there. And there's a point in time where they forgot to pay me just because of their busy schedule and everything like that. It's totally fine. No hard feelings there, but it's just kind of weird. And then they just realized, oh no, we haven't been paying him for this stuff. Like I said, no big deal, but they did reimburse me for that time they forgot to pay. And the gift card they gave me, this is the timing of the Lord. The computer that I have is on its last legs. And through this gift card and just the Lord's timing and provision, I was able to buy a laptop that came the next day. So just little things like that, seeing God in those moments and just the faithfulness of God and His hand working through this ministry. And we've had opportunities to minister to people and just to be the hands and feet and light of Jesus. I've seen Him through that. I've seen Him through my job and just craziness of that, and just providing me with a new position to where I'm not dealing with the stuff I dealt with before. Just little things like that. God's just been good, and I could go on and on and on. And I think we might do that closer to Thanksgiving, just where an episode where we just give thanks to the Lord for what He's done, get feedback from you guys, see what the Lord's been doing in your life. But God's been good, and I'm so thankful for the things I do not deserve. And it's just God's the giver of good gifts and the giver of good things in our lives to His children. And we just can't thank Him enough for that. So, yeah, I think that's the last question we're going to do tonight for our Q&A. Again, thank you all so much for sending those in. We might do a part 2 eventually. And
I think we should try and do this maybe once a year, because this is actually, when it comes to just recording by the two of us, it's probably been my favorite recording this year.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
It is, and it's something that, heck, what I might do is take some of those questions, do my own Q&A rehash video on YouTube, and turn that into a video, and that'd be fun. No, this has been a lot of fun, actually, guys. So thank you all for your questions. It's been, I'm not going to say fun for the 8th time, but it has been fun. And
It has been.
yeah, just to rehash what you were saying real quick though, the fact that I get to come on here once every Tuesday and, with the year I've had, and like that's been one area where even though I've been slacking with being able to make outreach and things like that, because if you guys don't know, I would typically, for almost a year straight, I was going every other Saturday and doing outreach and going to downtown Cincinnati, which is the city I'm closest to, and passing out food and Bibles and prayer and whatever it may be, toiletries, and I don't know what happened. I just lost it. And to be able to come on here every Tuesday night and to be able to serve the Lord in a small way, it has been an honor. So from the bottom of my heart, I thank God for the opportunity, but I do thank you listeners for allowing us to be able to minister to you guys. And for any of you guys that spread the word to other people, you are literally doing ministry by doing a simple favor of that, because not only does it help us, like it blesses us, but it could potentially bless other people defining the gospel. So,
Absolutely.
Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. And I guess we have one more question here, Ryan. We've asked our guests this every single episode, but I'm going to ask us this question. What is some advice you want to give to the listener?
I'm going to take words straight out of a Sidewalk Prophet song. Be strong in the Lord. Never give up hope. You're going to do great things. You're going to do great things. Goodness, I can't speak. God already knows.
I already know.
It's been a while. It's from a song called The Words I Would Say. And it's literally life advice from Dave Frey, their singer. And sometimes you just get... I think another thing I would tell people is just look at the bigger picture and all things. Like, as we record this, there is literally people getting slaughtered in the Middle East right now. In Israel. And, I will say it's out of hatred. It's a very Islamic state. It is out of hatred. They hate the Jewish people, the Christians, and it's sad, but that's the nature and reality and the hard truth. And, here in America, it's really easy to get caught up in like, oh, my job sucks, and I wish I had this, and I wish I had that, or today was such a bad day, someone said something I didn't like, or my heart was broken, and I'm like, you watch the news and you hear stories like that, and you're like, God, thank you for allowing me to be where I am, and just allowing me to understand that you are God, you are in control, and I'll rehash this again, like, you are forgiving. Even when you think that you've sinned too much, you haven't. Dude, he's just that good. You've got to know him.
And mine, to emphasize an episode we did a while back. It may not be the most listened to or the most popular episode, but it's our letter to this generation. And one of the bits and pieces that I have to remind myself of is stand for what you believe in, even when others are not standing. In the day and age we're living in, being a Christian is, I wouldn't say frowned upon, but not respected as it once was. But stand up for what you believe in, even when you're standing alone. Be the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Be the Daniel of 2023. Stand up for what you believe in, because ultimately, it's going to matter in the light of eternity. And the impact you make now will affect the generation to come. And trust the Lord. And that's kind of going along with my life verse. Trust God even when you can't see God. And you can look at scripture, you can look at people in the Bible. Look at Esther. That's one of the only books in the Bible that does not mention the name God in it. But you can see his hand working through Esther's life 100%. Stand up for what you believe in. Trust God even when you can't see him. We can't see God. We can't hear God verbally. But we can see him through his word and hear him through his word. Take what you learn from his word, apply it to your life, stand upon those truths, and look to him and trust him 100% with your life. It'll be worth it. And as we get closer to Christ's return, now more than ever, we need to stand up for truth and what is right and what the Bible says, even when it's not popular. So that's my little bit of advice there, is just stand and trust. So any final thoughts there, Ryan, before we end today's episode?
I think we hit it on the screws. Just a big thank you, and we had fun doing this episode. We had fun doing the season. Not that this is the season finale here, but I mean, God's just good. God is good even when we are not. That's what I always say. God is good when I am not.
Amen. Amen. And as we draw this episode to a close, again, thank you all for listening. Thank you for your questions. We are going to definitely do this again and more interactive topics, and we just want you all to join in on the fun there. But as always, you can connect with us here at ROYL Life Ministries through social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at ROYL Life Ministries. You can visit our website, ROYLLifeMinistries.com. Visit our merch shop, ROYLLifeShop.com. And you can also text us at the ROYL Life hotline at 513-285-8319. And again, that is 513-285-8319. And we just want to be a blessing, help, and encouragement to you. And if you need anything, whether it's prayer, just someone to talk to, or advice, reach out to us, and we'd love to connect with you there. So with that being said, thank you all for listening, and we will see you next Monday here on the ROYL Life Podcast. Peace! Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the ROYL Life Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, consider leaving a review or ranking on your preferred podcast platform. Your feedback helps us reach more people with the good news of Jesus Christ, as well as brings up more discussion on all things coasters and parks. Stay connected with the ROYL fam through our website, ROYLLifeMinistries.com, as well on social media at ROYL Life Ministries on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. Also, be sure to check out our merch store, ROYLLifeShop.com, for some awesome ROYL merch. We hope you all have a great week, and we look forward to the next episode next Monday. God bless. We hope to see you all in the parks. Peace!